The dichotomy of an anime that looks like this, cheery, but also starting every episode with a trigger warning. Sometimes when you're watching an anime, it just hurts you in every way, a punch to the gut, and Takopi's Original Sin is the latest series to remind us of that. This anime is heartbreaking, disturbing, and is just one of the darkest animes I've ever watched. Now I know that sounds dramatic, but hear me out. It's a story that gets under your skin because it forces you to confront a simple but painful truth. People suffer the most when they're alone in their pain. And that contrast with how the show looks and what it's really about is exactly what makes this show so unforgettable, and why I consider it a 10 out of 10 masterpiece. Now before we continue on, I just want to say this video is not spoiler free, and I won't be doing any recapping. If you haven't watched the show, please go check it out. It's only 6 episodes. So yeah, let's start off with the style and the animation. I think the way the show looks is really important to the show and its themes. Like if you're coming in blind, you might think this is a wholesome slice of life. Like the opening, it looks very cutesy, the pastel colors, the soft character designs. Takopii himself could easily be mistaken for a Sanrio character. He's round, colorful, cheery, and just full of happiness. And that's why I think his design is so brilliant, because he isn't just a cute alien. He's kind of the embodiment of innocence dropped into like a cruel world. He doesn't understand bullying, abuse, any of this type of stuff. He just wants everyone to be happy. And that's kind of tragic, because no matter how many gadgets he has, he uses, no matter how many times he tries, because we know he went back a lot of times, he just can't help. And in that way, I think Takopii exposes one of the core messages of the show, how you can't just plaster over someone's pain. You can't offer up solution just magically and help them out and expect their problems just to vanish. And this is the brilliance of the adaptation. I don't know how good the manga is, I haven't read it, but I know people said good things about it, but people have also said the anime just adapts it to another level. The direction, no scene is wasted. The show's only 6 episodes, it's all it needs to be. And I think that perfectly represents Takopi's perspective, you know. Very bright, safe, and just very childlike and innocent. Like, I mean, in one scene we see Shizuka obviously being beaten up, and there's obviously clues to what happened, while Takopii doesn't know that. He sees it's just like, she got stuff on her, she's kind of dirty right now, but I think that's truly what's beautiful about this. And the reason I say that is because, yet as disturbing as the story is, there's something beautiful about it, because Takopii in his own clumsy, naive way represents the hope that things could be different. Shizuka had no hope before. She just accepted her life was just like that. She prayed to the gods, to the stars, and nothing happened. And she just gave up. And I'm not saying the tragedy itself is beautiful. I think the way the tragedy is framed is beautiful, because it forces us to confront the disconnect between how the world should be and how it often is, through different perspectives. And that disconnect is something really human. I mean, all of us want to live a simple, kind, safe life, but it's really not. There are people out there that really experience what they're experiencing in the show, even though it's fiction, but like the world doesn't just randomly help you just because you're down. We all struggle, you know. I relate a lot to Azuma and his story about wanting to be needed, but like the disturbing beauty of this story is just, it doesn't demonize anyone for this. I mean, obviously the parents are like really bad people, we know that, that's what the story is kind of saying, but the show doesn't try to paint characters like Marina as purely evil. It shows them as deeply broken people who are failed by their parents and like society as a whole. But like Marina, for example, she's one of the most important characters in the story, because she's basically like her bully. Basically, she's evil, she's mean. Episode 1, everyone hates her, but she's a child at the end of the day. I watched that first episode, I didn't blame her. Obviously, no reasonable actions for bullying a person that bad, but at the end of the day, she just lashed out because she doesn't have the tools or support in her own life. She's getting abused every day, and her cruelty, like, it just isn't spawned from nothing. Because obviously not justification for anything she's doing, but that's what makes her so tragic as a character, because Marina is both a victim and like a perpetrator. She hurts others because she's hurting, and she's hurting because the people around her have failed her. And instead of communication, she instead chooses violence. And Azuma, on the other hand, represents a different kind of like silence. He's not cruel in the same way Marina is, but he's kind of paralyzed, you know. He sees what's happening, he knows things are wrong, but he tries to step in, but you know, he can't. Not in the way he wants to anyways, but like he doesn't reach out to anyone when he's struggling. He's obviously is. We see that he's obviously struggling with pure pressure on himself, trying to live up to his brother's standards. He wants to feel needed. He wants to prove to his parents that he's a good kid, you know, get those pancakes. And we see him have a whole mental breakdown after they basically almost get caught. And bro, the direction of that scene, that episode was phenomenal. It's my favorite episode. I connect this character a lot, and seeing him just being easily manipulated by Shizuka, because she actually needs him and he feels wanted like that, and that's so tragic. Shout out to his brother though, that scene was beautiful. He doesn't reach out to his brother, but the one time he did, his brother reached out back. Now with all that being said, why does this show matter in the first place? Why should I care about this show? And I think that question can be answered in the ending of the series. The ending is very powerful and it finally delivers the one thing the story has been building towards the entire time, and that's just talking. After all that silence, all the pain, the unspoken words, we see Takopii and Shizuka finally open up to each other and, have a heart-to-heart. Emotions finally showing out. Shizuka has been very emotionless this entire show basically, but you finally see her have some emotion. She doesn't have to carry all that pain alone. And as she cries, she breaks, she shows her emotions. Takopii doesn't try to fix it with his gadgets or nothing. He just listens, and he's there for her. And in that moment, Takopii learns the real solution he's been searching for this entire series was never using all these fancy gadgets to erase these pains, to magically help her. It was about love. It was about empathy. And it was about willing to sit there with someone in their darkest moments and just listening to them. And then, Takopii sacrifices himself. He gives himself up so that Shizuka and Marina, the two girls who were broken and divided this entire show, can finally find each other. Because after everything, it's his presence, his innocence, and his willingness to care that brings them both back together. They talk, they share about what they went through, they let each other into their pain, and a simple act of speaking, of opening up, becomes the start of their healing and their friendship. Their lives aren't magically perfect now, it's not fixed. Trauma doesn't vanish overnight. They still have problems back home, but now the difference is they have someone to lean on that they didn't have before. They have each other. They're not isolated anymore, not carrying the weight of anything alone. They can face life struggles together with love, empathy, and communication as their foundation. I mean, this theme has been shown since episode 1. Chappy, for example. Shizuka was struggling, she didn't have any hope to live anymore, but she did have Chappy, and that's all she needed to keep on living. And I think that's what the show has been trying to tell us this whole time, about having someone there for us when we're at our lowest, and how that could really help us just live. That's why I think the ending is so beautiful, because at its core, Takopi's Original Sin isn't just a story about tragedy, like what you would expect from the first few minutes, but it's a story about love, about how healing doesn't come from erasing the past or pretending the pain just never happened. Healing comes from being there for someone, talking to them, listening, and sharing the burden together, and that's what the story is really about. That's why I think Takopi's Original Sin is a modern masterpiece. Not because the animation is cool, not because it's sad bait, just sad for sadness, but because it truly captures something so raw, so real, so human. It takes the most innocent art style imaginable and uses it to tell one of the most painful stories possible. And in doing so, it forces us to confront the importance of something we often take granted nowadays. Just talking to people, communication. In the modern day, it should be so easy to talk to someone. Social media is everywhere, but it feels like we're getting lonelier and lonelier. So, just make sure to go check up and talk to your people,